Welcome to the deep dive. We take a whole stack of information, articles, notes, interviews, and basically pull out the best bits for you.
Giving you that shortcut.
Exactly. And today, we're diving into someone pretty extraordinary, Martin Strayed, Australian rock musician. His life path is, well, the sources call it epic.
And we've got some interesting stuff to work with. YouTube interview bits, song lyrics, even his own notes.
Yeah, so our goal here is to get a handle on this life lived really on its own terms, especially those wild Hollywood rock and roll days, before social media.
Right, before everything was under a microscope.
When people maybe weren't quite so afraid of the world watching every move.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating, I think, is how Strayed gives us this window into that specific Hollywood era. Less digital scrutiny, experiences unfolded differently. It felt contained. His story isn't just like event after event. It's more about this unconventional spirit, and the huge cultural shifts we've seen since then.
So we'll hear about him breaking away from the norm.
Definitely. His unique spot inside the Hollywood elite. And this is interesting why the actual truth of what he saw is apparently so potent it's holding up his book release.
Okay, let's unpack that. This idea of a radical departure. The sources describe him as the last of Australia's rock musicians, forging an unconventional path.
Yeah.
But the story really ignites with this dramatic, almost chaotic break from social normality, as they put it.
Sounds pretty intense.
Yeah, it feels like more than just moving house, like a total shift in philosophy.
Yeah, absolutely. And the sources actually pinpoint it very precisely. A drunken flight to Los Angeles, May Day, 1992.
May Day, 1992.
Right. So this wasn't just, I'm moving from my career. It seems like it was a deliberate leap. He flew into a city of angels, and one lyric calls him a pirate from the Neverland seeking fortune.
A pirate from the Neverland. I like that.
It captures it, doesn't it? It's just, this wasn't just changing location, but really changing who he was or maybe who he wanted to be, embracing this persona.
And his own description of himself back then kind of backs that up. Born in Springvale, Australia, calls himself a wild guy with a crazy imagination.
Okay.
And then lists his occupations as writer, guitarist, and traveler.
Well, that certainly signals unconventional, doesn't it?
Right. No beating around the bush there. He's setting the stage for something different.
And that lack of pretense, maybe, especially in how he described himself then. It feels important for understanding how he operated later in Hollywood.
Oh, so.
Well, he was already challenging norms right from the start, living life on his own terms, that kind of raw self-definition before everyone had a curated online brand.
Yeah.
It feels like an artifact of that time.
That makes sense. So he gets to LA, and he doesn't just watch Hollywood. He becomes part of it, a very unique part.
Yeah, the personal assistant for 13-plus years.
But also called a fantasy facilitator. That does not sound like fetching coffee and making copies.
No, definitely not. And it really points to the difference in eras, doesn't it?
Oh.
I mean, what was a fantasy facilitator back then?
Exactly.
Connecting it to the bigger picture, it seems like this role gave him this incredible, almost hidden access. The sources call it the last private years for Hollywood itself, before everything went digital.
So he was inside the bubble.
Deep inside, like maybe curating experiences for the elite, where normal rules didn't apply. He wasn't just seeing things. He was part of making them happen, part of that unfiltered Hollywood.
The sources say he was the man seen at all the premieres, always surrounded by leading industry, stage, and studio artists.
Yeah, constantly rubbing shoulders with the big names. He saw their everyday routines, experienced these infamous odd jobs, the kind of stuff that becomes backstage legend.
And where he lived kind of fits that picture, too. He found his life on infamous King's Road and called it home.
King's Road. Yeah, that has a certain reputation.
And get this, he apparently had a pimp's throne for a period of years overlooking the span of city lights.
A pimp's throne. Seriously. Okay, that's quite an image. It's not just furniture, is it? It sounds symbolic.
Right. It implies a certain status within that scene, like he wasn't just on the sidelines, maybe he was a key player orchestrating things in that wild world.
Absolutely. It speaks to a specific subculture, maybe even a hierarchy. And he kind of sums up his role with this amazing frankness. He says, from pop, punk, and porn, it is all part of rock and roll. I was the personal assistant extreme. From infamous Hollywood stars to happy, ordinary, everyday people, everyone's needing a hand. And then he adds, and I enjoyed a few hand jobs along the way.
Oh, okay. He just puts it out there.
He really does. That one line probably tells you more about that era and how he lived it than pages of description could. raw and unfiltered.
Definitely.
And it's crucial to get the context right. The sources are clear. He was never a male escort, even though he may have looked like a drunken gigolo.
Okay, that's an important distinction.
Yeah, and it mentions that porn stars were very active in the Sunset Strip in the 90s and were as famous as the movie stars. It was a different scene.
Yep.
He apparently turned down a lot of sexual favors, sometimes passing women to friends, saying things like, "I'm not famous, you should sleep with the way over there."
Why?
Well, partly because he was in relationships, but also he explicitly mentions the health risks. Too much HIV and herpes in capital cities, STDs were to be avoided in the 90s.
Huh. So even amidst all the wildness, there was this practical caution.
Exactly. It paints this picture of, yes, hedonism, but also a very real awareness of danger. Not about public image, but about personal survival almost.
Yeah.
Which is often lost in the nostalgia.
Yeah, you don't often hear that side. And alongside all this personal chaos, or maybe because of it, his professional life was stellar.
Right. He worked as a tech studio, stage, guitar, bass with huge names.
Yeah.
The Knack, Sex Pistols, Guns N' Roses, Duran Duran.
Neurotic Outsiders, too. He's credited on albums with Danny Sugarman from The Doors, knows the big LA studios inside out. Real industry cred.
Totally. But then there's the other side. His unusual mind also got him expelled from some private clubs, restaurants, and countries.
It's spelled from countries. Okay.
And he lists his expertise, probably with a smirk, as a specialist in penetration management.
Specialist in penetration management. Right. What does that even mean in this context?
Well, that's the genius of it, isn't it? It could be about his knack for getting into exclusive circles, breaking into the industry.
Or something else entirely.
Or something more provocative, totally fitting the rock and roll vibe. It's classic Strayed, that blend. Professional skill, but also this rebellious boundary-pushing thing.
Which maybe you could get away with more easily back then.
I think so. That duality, respected professional, notorious character, it thrived in that less scrutinized environment. Much harder to pull off today.
So all these stories, the King's Road nights, the backstage stuff, the stars, it's all gone into a book. Promises epic stories.
The kind of tell-all memoir people dream of or dread.
Exactly. But it's not just any memoir. There's a catch.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Why is this book, this chronicle of his life of a fantasy facilitator, hitting roadblocks?
What did the sources say?
His own notes state, the book launch was secret, and only the elite of Hollywood received copies of the first draft.
Secret launch. Okay.
And crucially, the actual printing is delayed till 2026 due to the names and legal requirements.
Ah, legal requirements. So the names involved are maybe not thrilled.
It seems that way. It's not just a publishing delay. It points to how explosive the content must be, especially in today's climate.
And that delay itself says so much about how Hollywood's changed, doesn't it, from the era he lived through?
Absolutely. The sources stated outright, much modern Hollywood legalities will not allow this launch.
Wow.
Top legal teams are trying to get this information public. The truth of Hollywood needs to be read to be believed. It's this stark contrast, isn't it, between the last private years he experienced where things stayed behind closed doors.
And now where the legal system might prevent those doors from ever being opened again publicly?
Precisely. The secrets from that era seem too dangerous for this one. It really shows the shift from a time of discretion, maybe denial, to an age of intense legal caution and image management.
What was just a wild story back then could be a lawsuit now.
Or worse, career ending. The fact that legal teams are fighting to get it out there suggests how valuable, how real these unfiltered stories are felt to be. Because they show a truth modern Hollywood perhaps wants to keep buried.
Makes you wonder what they're trying to protect.
Yeah. So beyond all the rock and roll stuff, the legal drama. What's driving him? What's his philosophy?
Well, he sees himself as an artist. He believes fantasy is my reality. That's a direct quote.
Fantasy is my reality.
Okay, and his motto is, being creative and developing ideas isn't the easy road, but it is scenic.
That suggests a deeper purpose behind the chaos, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It wasn't just random wildness. It was part of living this imaginative, unconventional life, prioritizing the experience itself.
Yeah, choosing the scenic route, even if it's harder.
And connecting his whole life back to this artistic principle, living an imagined reality, not the one society hands you. That feels like the core thread.
And even his name, Martin Strayed. Apparently it holds secrets, too.
Oh.
His notes say it's an anagram for things like trained master, amidst rare 10, master in trade, and rare mind state.
Rare mind state amidst rare 10? That's quirky. It fits, though. finding hidden meanings, playing with identity, even in his own name.
Definitely underlines that unique approach.
So ultimately, his whole story, diving into Hollywood's hidden side, all that experience, that unique way of thinking, it gives us this incredibly rare, authentic look at a time that's, well, it's basically gone now.
Sealed off by digital transparency, legal
But
frameworks.
exactly. He sort of embodies this freedom, this uninhibitedness that existed in parts of Hollywood before the world started watching everything, before every single action could be judged instantly by millions.
And it's more than just nostalgia then. It's like cultural history.
Vital cultural history. It forces us to see how much has changed.
So just to recap, we've journeyed through Martin Street's pretty unique life, from that drunken flight back in '92 through his 13-plus years as Hollywood's personal assistant extreme, uncovering this raw, unfiltered reality from a time when privacy was still a thing.
And you've gotten a glimpse into this world of huge music stars, secret book drafts, and these really surprising legal fights that are keeping a potentially explosive Hollywood memoir under wraps.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, how different would those stories even be today, when every text, every photo, every misstep can be online in seconds?
Totally different. So the final thought for you listening, what does this all point to? Strade's story highlights this huge cultural shift. What secrets, what truths, once just whispered backstage, are now maybe too explosive for today's legal world to handle.
And what does that tell us about the price of our constant digital connection? What's the cost to, genuine, unvarnished human experience?
Something to chew on until our next deep dive.